right, let's go to Mary, Seattle, Washington, KGNW. She called us on 1-800-229-3000. Hi there, how are you?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good. Thank you so much for taking my call.
Sure.
A real good friend of mine, a good friend, a lifetime mentor, suggested I call in, and it was like, wow, I should call because I'm really have been dealing for the last year and a half with struggles with my grandson.
Okay, what's going on
he's
there?
13 years, okay, well, he's 13 years old now, and he's living with us because he was sexually abusing his half-sisters. And we went through, he is currently on probation for that, so he's living with me while he is having his SOTP therapy, which is your sexual abuse treatment.
Mary, let me ask you a quick question. How long ago was this happened?
Well, he started abusing early, and we caught him when it was about 11 and a half when it actually came out that that's what had happened. And so he came and lived with me immediately after that.
And on the legal side, what did they do? Anything punitive versus therapeutic there?
Well, he was prosecuted, which is kind of unusual because of his age at the time of it. But he was prosecuted, and his sentence is it's what do they call it, where he doesn't have a sentence because he's on parole. It's been deferred.
Yeah.
The sentence has been deferred.
Okay.
Pending treatment with his SOTP provider, which he had already started before he was prosecuted. So this has been quite a long haul.
Okay, so the question for us then is what?
Okay, so in addition to the sexual deviancy problems that he's also had defiance disorder that we're dealing with. He's had animal abuse issues where he's actually smothered chicks, killed chickens, beat on goats, sexually abused goats. So he's not in the farm situation anymore. He's living with us. But we do have a dog, and just recently, about a month ago, he tried to strangle the dog because it was barking.
All right, so I think we have a picture of the level of problem that he has. Ask a specific question that we could answer about that.
Okay. What the SOTP provider has kind of suggested is a program that's called ART. It stands for Aggressive Replacement Therapy. It's a cognitive program, 10 weeks, 3 times a week. It will be starting possibly in January. The problem I have with this is his parents are against it. They don't want it. Therefore, he doesn't want to have this kind of therapy done. I really have a check in my spirit, and I have a hard time with him going back home knowing that he's got this anger that's brewing in him. And they're at the point with his SOTP where he's doing reintroduction with his family 3 times a week now, where he can see the girls again, and a very highly structured supervision, of course, but 3 times a week. So
okay, a quick question: what is the parents' objection to him being involved with that kind of treatment?
I think it stems from fear that it's peer-based, and he's going to be talking to other kids. They think that they can control it themselves, which is, I think, part of the issue of his whole problem is they're very controlling. I think they want something that's Christian-based. The other issue is they really think it stems from a brain injury that he had, a traumatic brain injury when he was 6 months old.
Okay. Let me ask Alice and Mylan to jump in here and give you some help here with this. I think we've got the picture We've got about 5 minutes here for the break. So, Alice, you want to get us started here, and then we'll go to Mylan.
Mary, I greatly admire that you took your grandson in and that you were willing to step into the fray to be an influence in his life and to protect his sisters. Do you have the authority as his caregiver to decide whether or not he goes into this treatment, even if his parents disagree?
No, I do not. In fact, now that he's 13, I can't even talk to his therapist, supposedly. I've been given a gag order, so when he has defiance issues or something, I can't tell them, hey, we're really struggling with defiance issues or what we're having problems with. So I don't have custody of him. I am just taking care of him as the courts are allowing.
So 2 issues really stand out to me, and I'm sure they do for you as well. If he so recently attacked the dog, it's such a sign to me that he is not yet safe to have such access to his sisters, even though I understand it's supervised, it's structured, and so perhaps in that environment. But that is still a big concern to me that he had such violent behavior so recently. And then I can't help but think of greater trauma than just a brain injury, even though a brain injury can certainly affect aggression and behavior. But for it to lead to sexual abuse is not a connection that I know to brain injury. And so I have to wonder about sexual abuse in his history. Do you know if that's a part of his story?
We do not know that. We do not know that. We have not... We don't. We may never know exactly what has triggered him.
He's not the biological child of both the people who are parenting him now. Is that right? What's the explanation there?
Correct. His mother was pregnant with him, and the father was never in the picture. He actually committed suicide when my grandson was about 5 or 6 years old, and he was out of the state when that happened. But he never really had a relationship with his father, and so I think they're very afraid of, like, they don't want to put him on any kind of medication. Really, they haven't found anything that they'll work with medication-wise because they're afraid of, the black box warnings on medication.
Mary, let me say this, and then I'll let Mylan and Alice chime in. He has a very, very severe problem that if more than less is done, this thing can be turned around. But if the treatment he's getting is approached by his parents that they're afraid of everything, including medication, then I fear that there would be maybe not a great outcome. They need to listen to the experts who have dealt with a lot of kids that have hit this level of a problem, both the destruction of animals, sexual abuse, things like that. And they really need to do everything they can to help turn this around, or I don't think they're going to be happy. Mylan, do you have a thought here? And then Alice, you can finish up.
Mary, regarding the aggression replacement therapy 3 times a week times 10 weeks that you ask about, he should do every single thing he can to be in community, to be in the presence of clinical psychologists and therapists, psychiatrists. But really, Mary, what's going on here is this is a child that, as Alice already said, we're just sitting here saying something happened to this kid. Somewhere he was traumatized, whether it's a big trauma of one big proportion or what we call small t trauma, a succession of chronic trauma. But you're also showing us that the parents are very paranoid, controlling, fearful, constrictive, rigid, and that can also create anger. And so it's a family system problem, Mary, and that whole family system needs to be looked at. So my answer to you about the question, yes, he should go into that, but the parents are the biggest problem, so much so that perhaps he needs to be removed from their actual custody.
All right, we'll take a break and come right back.
Now back to New Life Live.
We're back. We just want to finish up here, and Alice, I'll let you take it from here on Mary and her working with this 13-year-old's parents and what to do here. What are your final thoughts?
Oh, Mary, I want to advocate for you to have a stronger voice supported with authority in this position as you're taking care of this boy. And so putting calls into the highest level of authority in the parole system to be able to have a voice with the therapist, you probably have the most insight into his current level of safety more than anybody else. It's crazy that you don't have access to his therapist. So I would keep complaining, because I bet you have. Keep complaining and putting those calls in and letting people know that he's continuing to be violent. I'd advocate for trauma-based therapy.
Right.
I think EMDR, eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, would be helpful. It might even help to uncover some of the unknowns about what he has been through and the trauma that the family is unaware of. But I would also support the parents wanting Christian therapy. There is very likely spiritual warfare going on here, and having a Christian therapist as part of a team, because this boy needs as much help as he can get to get him out of this and keep his sister safe from him.
Yeah, and again, in these cases, the sister is the priority for safety, and if no matter what the schedule shows, if she's uncomfortable, or if you believe that, well, they should just never ever be left alone, ever. I'm really glad that you called, and I hate it when we hear stories of this, but I love it, Mary, that he has an advocate like you that's willing to call a program to find out what other people think. So you are his champion, and I am so grateful.
Yes, Steve, can I say one more thing?
Sure.
He's 13 right now, and as puberty sets in and becomes fully developed in him over the next few years, that really complicates and adds to the problem here, because testosterone is a very strong, powerful, aggressive hormone. And if he doesn't learn to control his impulsivity and his anger, that could turn against people. And
that's right.
We really want to be aware of that. That's why what you said to Mary about her advocacy, when the parents are so rigid and constrictive and restrictive, for Mary to advocate and pound a drum is really important to get the right help. And I agree with you, Alice. He's going to need to really be looked at, not just from a pure cognitive perspective, how can we change this, but he needs to be looked at through the lens of traumatologists. This kid's been traumatized.
Yeah. All right, 1-800-229-3000 to join us. I'm going to send Mary a copy of How We Love Our Kids, and I'll send her a Restoration Bible as our way of saying thank you.